Introduction to computers and programming. Now we know the primary activities of a program are input, process, and output. So computer programs typically perform the three-step process of gathering input data either from a keyboard, from a file or disk, etc. Then we process the data or process the input data, then display the results as an output. So a computer program process consists of several steps, which include requirement analysis, design, creation, implementation, testing, etc. Normally, this section is covered in software engineering, but here we are going to go through the steps here. So we say a programming process clearly define what the program is to do. This will be the requirement analysis phase. Assuming what will be the input of the program, what should be the output, then how do we transform the input to output? That will be the design process. After we design the algorithm, either using any tools such as flowchart, pseudocode, etc., then we are going to visualize the program running on the computer. Then from there, we are going to use, again, as we said, a design tool such as hierarchy chart, flowchart, pseudocode. Check the model for the logical errors. Then we implement. Implementation is typing the code, save it, and compile it. If there's any error, then we need to correct the error. We have to repeat these steps until we make sure there's no any error in our program. Then that's compiling stage. Then in the saving stage, we run the program. Now, you cannot run a program when there's an error, which we normally call the syntax error. Now, when we run the program also, we can have what we call the runtime error or logic error. For example, I want to find the sum of two numbers, and I wrote down the product of two numbers. This is not a syntax error. These are the error that is very difficult to notice because the programmer have to test the program, make sure it's getting the correct answer. But the syntax error is again identified by the compiler, the software. So after we correct every error, we validate the result of the program. Now, we have two types of programming, I would say programming language styles. One we call the procedural, and the other we call the object, again, oriented program. So normally in C++, it's a language that can be used for these two methods, again, procedural and object-oriented programming. In procedural programming, again, the programmer construct the procedures, example, the functions or the tasks that the programmer will be doing. And then the procedures are a collection of programming statements to perform a specific task. The sum of two numbers, product of two numbers, etc. Now, these procedures each contain their own variables and commonly share variables with other procedures. Now, procedural language is centered on the procedure or the function. Then also, again, we have the object-oriented programming. Now, with the object-oriented programming, on the other hand, is centered on the object, so focus on the object. An object is a programming element that contains data and the procedure that operates on the data. So, example, we may have identify an object, let's say object employee. And what are the specific data of employee? Those will be the attributes of employee, the height, the weight, his salary, so many. Then the method or the operations will be what function the employee we may do on the employee. For example, we can calculate the employee hourly salary. We can check if the employee is late or not late, how many hours he work for the week, etc. So this will give us, again, we are going to discuss this in the middle of the course, the concept of object-oriented programming, which come with classes. Classes will be like a blueprint of the object, etc. So again, wish everybody the best and see you in the next lectures.